I'm here.
Hi, take me from the time you found out you had Lou Gehrig's disease and what you did about it.
Okay. Well, I was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease April 17th of 2001. My youngest son was only 4 weeks old.
Oh, how tragic.
It was devastating. I had a 4-week-old baby and a 2-year-old little boy, and I didn't know that my children would ever grow up to know who their mother was. The doctors at University of Michigan Hospital told me I had 2 to 5 years to live, that I should quit my job and basically prepare to die.
I have friends that have died from Lou Gehrig's disease. Does anyone survive?
No, it's a fatal disease. It's always fatal. Your nerves die off, and which supply your muscle with the ability to function, and your muscles waste away, and it's a tragic, terrible death.
But you had an aunt that told you something you had never heard.
Yep, she told me that there were promises in God's word for my healing, and that I was going to live and not die and declare the works of the Lord. And I went to Bible college and started learning what exactly God's word had to say concerning healing, and that healing was for me, and that Jesus was no respecter of persons, and if he'd healed one person, he'd heal me too.
Now, I understand, even though you didn't have your balance and you're literally coming apart at the seams, you determined to go back to work, working on an ambulance. Tell me about that.
Well, I just decided that, faith without works is dead. And if I was going to say that I was healed and know that Jesus healed me, then I was going to have to act upon that faith that I was saying with my mouth. And so I decided to go back to work full time. And everybody at work stood in faith with me, along with my wonderful family. And I didn't want a pity party. I wanted everybody to agree with me that the ramifications and the manifestations of this healing would come. And that's exactly what I did. I carried on my life like normal. And
well,
I'm not
2 years later, what happened to you?
It was actually like 2.5 years later. I had consistently went down to University of Michigan for about 6 months, and they would always check me out. But the last time I went down, which was in August of 2003, they called me back and they said, will you come back down in October for a repeat EMG with the same doctors that did your original EMG? And so I agreed to do that. And in October 20th of 2003, I went back down for a repeat EMG. And the doctors were walking in and out of the room and in and out of the room and asking me a lot of questions.
I can picture that scene.
Yeah, and they said, did your mother ever have polio when she was pregnant with you? Or, they were just asking me questions, and they said, Wendy, you don't have ALS. We don't know what's happened here, but your nerves they're trying to repair themselves. They said that I look like, my nerve endings look like somebody that had polio 50 years ago, but they were not dying off anymore. And that's what ALS is that nerves are actively dying off. And when they made the original diagnosis, they saw nerve death within 14 days of the test. And when they did the EMG almost 3 years later, the nerves had stopped dying off.
So what do the doctors have to say about this?
They had to leave us alone in the room for about 30 minutes because we were just in awe. I had never felt so close and felt God's presence so it was an overwhelming feeling, like God had answered our prayers exactly how we'd asked him to answer them. We stood in faith and we trusted him and we acted upon his word, and he.
But what did what did the doctors say?
They said it's a miracle. They said they have the doctor came in and told my mom and dad, you just got your daughter back. We have never been able to tell anybody this, but you just got your daughter back. And they were crying. They were absolutely devastated.
But Wendy, don't you understand that the disease you had is a death sentence?
Absolutely, I do. And I've seen so many people that have since died from Lou Gehrig's disease. And I'm here today, proclaiming the works of the Lord.
Now, do you believe everyone can experience healing that follows what you did follow?
Absolutely.